If you want to learn to do this in Camtasia, or even this in Camtasia, or finally this in Camtasia, then watch this video. I'm going to show you some different techniques that we can use that combine animation with text and different backgrounds to produce really interesting text formations that we can use, for example, for chapters, for introductions, etc. Really hope you like the video, and as always, if you do, please like it, please share it, please comment on it, and of course, join me on my new YouTube channel, Screencast Guru. Let's get started. So here is that video that you just watched, and incidentally, if you like this idea of kind of introducing yourself within a device frame, I've made a specific video about that topic, and I'll put that on the screen now and you can click and watch that video. In this video, of course, we're focusing on the text techniques that I used. The place you want to start really for text, particularly for introductions and chapters, is annotations. And I really like some of the new annotations that have been introduced into Camtasia 2024. You'll see some new ones here, and these are all updatable. So for example, if I drag that one onto the screen, I'm going to put it on track 2 and you'll see in a minute why. And then of course I can increase the size, I can drag it out and do it that way. But remember also there's always another way of working with sizes, and that's to come over here and say, for example, increase the size of the font if you want to. Remember also in these properties, so I'm just clicking on the properties here, always make sure you've got the object selected, and then you could, for example, change the color inside if you wanted. So let's say you wanted to have it that color, you could do that. So you can always kind of play around with all the properties inside. Here on the right hand side you'll see what properties you've got available to me. We could change the stroke color, for example, as well if we wanted to. So you can kind of play around with that. Now, the next thing I want to point out is that you can animate this text. Now, one obvious way of animating text is to come over to what we call if you come down here, you'll see it called behaviors. Now, I'm going to show you how these behaviors work because you can do much more with them than a lot of people realize. So if I come over to these behaviors and just click on them, if I drag a behavior on, let's use this one here, which is one I commonly use, and I'm just going to show you what the effect would be. So if I played the video just from here, you'll see it then just brings the text onto the screen. Nothing that exciting, but keep in mind that again you can, and you'll see now the behavior logo here on the right hand side. I'm just pointing it out to you. If you click on that, you can completely change the combination. So for example, at the moment I've got it the sliding text, and if I clicked here I could choose another one. So for example, I could have fade in. Now if I played this now, suddenly it's going to be completely different. We're going to have this effect. Let's get started. The text fades in onto the screen, okay? Now, what I can do as well is say, well, what effect do I want happening during? And I might say, well, I don't want any effect. And then I can say, well, what effect do I want when it's leaving? And I might choose a different one, okay? So you could say, for example, here I could have shrink. So the result of that would be that you'd have this fading effect, then nothing, and then, as you see, it would shrink and disappear. So you can actually play around with the behaviors and change them. But what a lot of people don't realize, you can even do more than that. You can actually combine behaviors and transitions. So for example, I could then come down to the transitions and and I'm going to put this one in here, zoom fade, for example. You have to work at this. You have to see what behaviors and transitions work well together. But if I drag that onto the screen, you would now have both a transition and a behavior taking place at the same time. As I said, this is kind of a matter of practice and working out what works well. But let me show you. So now I've got that fade, then I've got the kind of that effect of the, So I can combine these together, and that's what you saw me doing in the beginning of my video. Now, to really take this to another level, what we really want to do with that text is add a more interesting background. At the moment, we've just got a very basic background here. But what we can do, and we've got, again, loads of choices here. If we come up to media, And this time we're going to click on the libraries, and the library that we want is the Camtasia 2024 library. And in that you've got loads of backgrounds that you can use, and in fact some of these are what we call dynamic backgrounds, and you can see them here. Now what they're dynamic because there's an animation in them. So just to give you an example, I'm going to drag this one here, color waves. I'm going to drag that on as my background. And now suddenly you see that I've got the text on the screen with these color waves. Okay, let me just play that very quickly. So we've got this effect now on the screen. Looks quite nice, and of course, just like everything, I could click on that object, on the color waves, click on the properties of that color wave, and if I scroll down, there'll be a lot of options, including being able to change the colors. So for example, if I was to say, well, I want that to be that color, and I want that one to be, let's say, that color, let's put it darker, and I can change all the colors as well and combine different colors together. So now we've got a completely different ball game, because we've suddenly got this animated text which has a combination of a behavior and a transition on it, okay, and we've got this really nice background as well. Now I have made a video about all the different backgrounds that we can make use of in Camtasia, because Camtasia actually offers you lots of free assets. So if you want to learn more about all these free backgrounds, and there are many of them in the Camtasia for library, for example, not only have you got access to what we call dynamic backgrounds, but you've also got the another section called dynamic fills, and again you can use these, but even more than that, you've also got another whole load of free assets that you can get if you sign up to the Camtasia account, and they're also free. So if you want to learn about that, I'll put a video on the screen now that will take you through that. Now, one thing that really adds to an intro or some text coming on the screen is, of course, to have audio. Now, I use a particular website, and I'm going to point it out to you in a minute, and it allows me to use the assets for free. I'm going to just scroll up and come to my media here on the left hand side, and the one I'm going to do is come down to the audio that I've downloaded, and I've got an example here of what we call a short swish, which I got for free, and I'm going to drag that onto the screen. And of course what I want is it to kind of line up so that as the animation starts, you can see here the audio is going to start. Now let's just see that in action. So let's play that now, that introduction, and see with the audio what it looks like. Now I really like that, and that was very quick, and of course if I took more time I could choose perhaps a better sound, etc. And I could obviously do much more with the background colours that I'm using. I really like that effect. It's not one that I've actually made use of, but it is a really nice one, these kind of waves. But you can see how I can work. Now just one final thing, if I took out that colour wave, and another thing that I could do, again, I'm going to just jump over now to my own library assets to do this. And so I'm going to come to my own videos, and you can actually add library assets that you've got and bring them into Camtasia. And I'm going to just drag on this background here and just show you again. Now we've got a completely different background, where if I play this now, and of course what I'd probably do in this case is update the colors in the image, sorry, not in the image, in the text, to reflect the colors that I've got in the background. And what I can do actually here is just click here and actually choose those colors. Okay, so you can even just use the color picker to make sure you get similar types of colors. And if I do this like this, let's just do this here, you'll see now that it's really kind of mixing well together. So it's really those three techniques that you saw me using at the beginning of the video that I was combining in all different ways with different backgrounds, different text, different combinations of behaviors and transitions. Remember, you've got loads of transitions. And remember that when you're working with the behaviors and you bring a behavior onto the screen, you can change both what happens as it comes on, what happens during, and what comes as it's leaving, when the behavior finishes. When it comes to background sounds, I often use Pixabay. And Pixabay is very generous because it's kind of like a collaborative website where people share different videos, etc., that you are allowed to use. Now, you can make a donation to people if you use a lot of their assets and you want to make a contribution to them. You can do that. And you're not even obliged on Pixabay, you're not obliged to actually show attribution, though I do recommend it. In other words, it is a nice idea in, for example, the descriptions of your YouTube videos to say, you know, thank you to Pixabay for the sounds that I used. But this is a great place, and you can come on here, and all I did earlier was just search for swoosh, and then different, obviously, audio will come up. So in fact, what I did there, I'm looking at images, I would have actually gone to sound effects, click on sound effects, and then obviously now you're going to get all the swooshes. And the interesting thing is you can quickly test them before you decide that you want to download one. So for example, if I looked at this one here and I clicked on it, and I can actually play it and test it, and then if I'm happy I can download it. So it's a site I really recommend. Now, one thing I did mention is that when I work in Camtasia, I've built up over time my own library of useful videos and pictures and sound effects that I want to keep and use again and again. And I've made a video about library assets and how you make your own libraries, and I think it's one of the most useful things in Camtasia. And if you want to watch that video, I'll put it on the screen now. Okay, really hope you liked that video, and as I said before, please come over to teachertrainingvideos.com. There is a whole section on using Camtasia. Remember, I am actually a TechSmith Camtasia recommended trainer, and remember, you can contact me if you would like some training either with you as an individual or with your organization and however members. I do run online training, and I do even run sometimes face-to-face training depending on the country. Finally, if you're interested in building up a YouTube channel, because that's what I use predominantly, I use Camtasia for, that is to build up my YouTube channel and make videos on my YouTube channel. And as you can probably see, if you visit teachertrainingvideos.com YouTube channel, I've got more than 80,000 subscribers. How did I do that? I do run a course. You can put your name on the waiting list. You can see it on the front page there. You can sign up, and then the next time that I'm running that course, I'll let you know. It's a course where basically in 2 hours I explain everything. So it's not a long course, it's a webinar where I go through the whole process. I tell you exactly everything that you need to know, and it's going to save you hours and hours and hours of study. That's how I learned, watching many videos on YouTube and doing various courses. I literally summarize everything so you know what I did to get to 80,000 subscribers. I'm going to leave some more videos on the screen now that you might find interesting, and thank you very much.